US-Iran nuclear negotiations are set for their third round of talks this upcoming weekend. Will they be successful? And if not, how likely are US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites? Pro-Israel neocon voices in Washington are favoring bombing Iran's nuclear sites over diplomacy. Senator John Fetterman stated this week that US should abandon talks and instead, quote, strike and destroy Iran's nuclear facilities. Fetterman calls for bombing Iran's nuclear facilities, waste that shit. Years ago, I completely understood why Trump withdrew from the Obama deal. Today, I can't understand why Trump would negotiate with this diseased regime. The negotiations should be compromised of 30,000-pound bombs and the IDF, Fetterman stated. These statements aren't new from Fetterman, however. He's a staunch Zionist and was actually gifted a golden pager from Netanyahu. Back in February, a former staff member of his quit, stating that Fetterman had the staff, quote, just working on Israel all the time. Fetterman definitely isn't the only pro-Israel neocon gaining traction in U.S. policy circles. Many policymakers are prioritizing military action against Iran over diplomacy. Concurrently, Secretary of State Mark Rubio stated that any revised nuclear accord must eliminate Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Take a listen to this.
If Iran wants a civil nuclear program, they can have one just like many other countries in the world have one, and that is they import enriched material. Now, we're not going to negotiate this in the press. We're not going to negotiate this publicly because it undermines negotiations. But there's a pathway to a civil, peaceful nuclear program if they want one.
Reports indicate that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli officials have been pressing the White House to adopt a harder line, even planning joint military operations to take on Iran's nuclear sites, which many are concerned will pull the U.S. into another direct conflict. This isn't new, however. Back in 2015, Netanyahu lobbied American Jews to act against their own government by stopping Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. Israel, on the other hand, has no oversight on its nuclear program whatsoever. Israel maintains the status of nuclear ambiguity. It neither confirms nor denies its nuclear program. However, it's estimated that it has 100 to 200 nuclear warheads. Israel has never signed a nuclear non-proliferation treaty and continues to have its state nuclear deterrent requiring secrecy and refuses any formal oversight whatsoever. In 2013, the International Atomic Energy Agency Board actually voted on a resolution urging Israel to join the NBT. This was brought forward by 18 different Arab states. And guess what? The United States actually led the opposition to vote against the resolution. Every successive U.S. administration since John F. Kennedy has maintained the status of nuclear ambiguity in regards to Israel's nuclear program, while pressing Iran to accept crippling limits. The West consistently overlooks Israel's nuclear program, while its double-sidedness towards Iran is coming off hypocritical to the global South. Take a listen to what Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs stated when questioned about Israel's nuclear program.
Iran cannot have nuclear weapon, and this is what's in front of us. We understand it's not just a threat to Israel, but to the entire world.
What about Israel?
Israel is not posing a threat to anyone. We don't have any ambitions in any other country. Iran has ambition in the entire Middle East. Right, and so Iran is a threat to the entire world, and Israel is at the front line of stopping the worst enemy the world can. And I don't understand that question.
With all respect, the question was not about Iran. The question was about
Israel's posing a threat on? Israel has never provoked, has never attacked unprovokably a neighboring country or someone else. This has always been on the defense of our country and our people. We have no ambition. Israel is the key for stabilizing the Middle East.
So if Iran abandons its nuclear program, Israel will do the same?
Israel is what's stabilizing the Middle East. Iran is what's destabilizing, arming, and terrorizing the entire population around. And so disarming Iran is not Israel's interest. It's your interest. It's international community's interest. Try and imagine what is happening right now in the Middle East with with nuclear weapons. It's not just a threat on Israel. It's a threat on the entire world.
Do you hear that? Israel only acts whenever it's playing defense. Israel is definitely stabilizing the Middle East while it flattened Gaza, annexes southern Lebanon, annexes the Golan Heights, bombs the shit out of Syria. While Israel staunchly defends its own unregulated nuclear arsenal, other global players are staking out positions counter to American and Israeli interests. During U.S. negotiations with Iran, the Chinese foreign minister publicly opposed what it called illegal sanctions and he applauded Iran's right to peaceful nuclear energy. China declared its willingness to support talks aimed at diplomacy over military intervention. Iran also claimed a golden year of deepening ties with China while framing Beijing as a strategic counterweight to Western influence. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and the Gulf oil countries actually took a position backing the US-Iran negotiations, stating that it safeguards their economy and ensures stability in the Middle East. Iran has also signaled its intent to further engage with Europe. Iran's foreign minister proposed visits to France, Germany, and the UK to strengthen diplomacy with Europe as these US negotiations continue. While this is all going on, Iran is accusing Israel of plotting covert actions to sabotage any deal. They've been stating that they've noticed a pattern of odd disruptions at their enrichment facility. Back in 2021, Iran's Natanz nuclear site suffered a large outage that Iran blamed caused by Israeli sabotage. Iran's two biggest nuclear enrichment sites, the fuel enrichment plant at Natanz, which is 3 floors underground, and Fordow, which is dug deep into a mountainside. Now, these nuclear sites are not impenetrable. Israel couldn't do it alone. However, but the United States could take out Israel's nuclear sites using its B-2 bombers. The United States could theoretically take out those sites, and the B-2 bombers were recently moved to the Diego Garcia military base in the Indian Ocean. Reuters published an article on April 9th stated, "Are B-2 bombers a message to Iran? We'll let them decide." The B-2 bombers carry America's 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. Take a look at this photo here. It's also known as the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It's designed to penetrate targets deep underground, up to 60 meters deep of reinforced concrete. A U.S. airstrike, however, on Iran's nuclear sites would still take days, if not weeks. And ultimately, a strike could delay or disrupt the program, but it can't destroy it. Even if Iran's nuclear sites were eliminated, Iran still has the knowledge of how to enrich uranium, and preventing rebuilding would be a constant, extremely difficult task. There is also a very real chance that if you bomb Iran, it could backfire and cause Iran to go fully nuclear for deterrence. Many Iranians also viewed Netanyahu's recent statements regarding denuclearizing Iran, quote, Libya style, as a direct threat. Take a listen to this.
And of course, we also discussed Iran. Look, we're both united in the goal that Iran does not ever get nuclear weapons. It can be done diplomatically in a full way, the way it was done in Libya. I think that would be a good thing. But whatever happens, we have to make sure that Iran does not have nuclear weapons.
Now, what does Netanyahu mean when he says Libya style, and why is that not a reproducible model for Iran? Well, Libya style refers to the 2003 agreement between Muammar Gaddafi and Western countries, particularly the United States and the UK, to dismantle Libya's nuclear, chemical, and missile programs in exchange for promises to lift sanctions and reintegrate Libya into the international community. At face value, that didn't sound too bad. And then came the 2011 Arab Springs. NATO forces bombed Gaddafi forces directly, ultimately leading to his downfall. It sent a clear message. If you disarm your nuclear program, you're expendable. If you're nuclear armed, you're untouchable. Hence why Libyan syndrome now refers to the fear of replicating Libya's fate for countries that forego their deterrent capabilities. Also, interesting to note, some argue that Gaddafi's downfall had less to do with nuclear weapons and more to do with challenging the global financial order and sitting on massive oil reserves. Take a listen to what former Republican Congressman Kurt Weldon stated in a recent Tucker Carlson clip on why the West wanted to take out Gaddafi.
We were the ones that caused Gaddafi's death because Hillary Clinton played a game over there. And I was the one that went over there during the war. Gaddafi asked me to come over. I took a Biden staffer and a Bush staffer and a film crew leader from ABC1 in New York, Larry Mentz, and a cameraman because I didn't want the CIA to set me up. I hand-carried the letter back from Gaddafi offering to resign. The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to kill him.
That first-hand account only reinforces what so many nations see as a trap. It's not just about giving up weapons. It's about giving up leverage. And in Gaddafi's case, it ultimately costed him everything. Over the past few weeks, Iranian hardliners have been warning against a nuclear deal and echoing the same fear. Remember Gaddafi. If you remember back in 2018, the Libyan model became a sticking point in talks with North Korea regarding a nuclear deal of their own. In 2018, the Libyan model became a significant point of contention during North Korea's nuclear talks. The model referenced Libya's 2003 decision to dismantle the nuclear program. And ultimately, President Trump, addressing denuclearization discussions, threatened Kim Jong-un, stated that if he didn't make a deal, he would face the same fate as Gaddafi. He also stated, President Trump, that he would, quote, totally destroy North Korea. Take a listen to this.
We can no longer be taken advantage of or enter into a one-sided deal where the United States gets nothing in return. The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself. The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. It is time for the entire world to join us in demanding that Iran's government end its pursuit of death and destruction. The Venezuelan people are starving, and their country is collapsing. Their democratic institutions are being destroyed. This situation is completely unacceptable, and we cannot stand by and watch.
These threats against North Korea weren't just rhetorical either. They were backed by visible military pressure. In 2018, the United States moved 6 B-2 bombers to Guam during denuclearization talks with North Korea. It sounds an awful lot similar to what we're seeing today. B-2 bombers being positioned at Diego Garcia right off Iran's coast in the middle of nuclear negotiations. Clearly, this isn't a new tactic. The New York Times even published an article stating that military quietly prepares for a last resort, war with North Korea. This pattern of coupling diplomatic efforts with military posturing sends a clear message. The United States maintains pressure while negotiating, a strategy that has been observed in both North Korea and Iran. The reoccurring theme here is evident, that when nations relinquish their nuclear arsenal without robust security guarantees, they face an existential crisis. This is the pressure that Iran faces today, and how things unfold will shape the balance of power for years to come in the region. If you find this video interesting, make sure to click the subscribe button below if you want to stay up to date on more world news and geopolitics for me. See you guys next time.